Folks, buckle up, because today we're diving headfirst into the UK's economic dumpster fire, served with a side of government incompetence and a sprinkle of statistical wizardry gone wrong. I'm your host, the guy who's been yelling into the void about this mess for years, and today, we're tearing apart the latest inflation circus, courtesy of the Office for National Statistics, the Bank of England, and, drumroll, please, our beloved government, who's steering this ship straight into an iceberg. Let's get into it. Alright, folks, let's start with the headline grabbing all the buzz this week. UK inflation is expected to cool to 3.3% in May 2025, according to a Bloomberg survey of economists. Sounds great, right? Champagne corks popping, high fives all around, finally, some relief from the wallet-crushing price pressures we've been battling since what feels like the dawn of time. But hold on to your wallets, because this cooling is about as trustworthy as a politician's promise during election season. Here's the kicker, the Office for National Statistics, ONS, the folks we rely on to tell us what's actually happening in the economy, admitted that their April 2025 inflation rate of 3.5% was wrong. Yep, you heard that right. They flubbed the numbers, blamed it on incorrect vehicle excise duty data from the Department for Transport, and quietly corrected it to 3.4%. So, what's a 0.1% error, you ask? Oh, just a casual miscalculation that ripples through markets, influences Bank of England decisions, and screws over millions of Brits trying to plan their finances. No biggie. But wait, there's more. This isn't just a one-off oopsie. The ONS has been caught with its pants down multiple times lately, from pausing producer price data in March 2025 to fix errors, to botching unemployment and employment estimates because, get this, people aren't responding to their surveys anymore. And the cherry on top. National Statistician Ian Diamond bailed last month, citing health reasons. Health reasons, huh? I'd be sick too if I were running a circus that's lost all credibility. Now, let's peel back the layers of this economic onion, shall we? Because this inflation fiasco isn't just about one dodgy number, it's a symptom of a much deeper rot in the UK's economic management. From government mismanagement to central bank dithering, here's how we got here, step by disastrous step. First off, let's talk about the data disaster. Inflation numbers aren't just some nerdy stats for economists to geek out over, they're the compass that guides monetary policy, business decisions, and your grocery budget. When the ONS screws up, it's not just a whoops, it's a full-blown crisis of confidence. And boy, are we in one. Take the April 2025 inflation blunder. The ONS blamed it on wrong vehicle excise duty numbers, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Erratic factors like airfares, spiked by Easter holiday data collection, genius timing, guys, concert ticket prices, thanks, Taylor Swift, and hotel rates are making it impossible to get a clear read on underlying inflation pressures. And don't even get me started on the Producer Price Index, PPI, which has been MIA since March 2025 because, yep, you guessed it, more errors. Why does this matter? Because without reliable PPI data, economists can't see what's coming down the pipeline for consumer prices. It's like driving blindfolded on the M25 during rush hour. And it's not just inflation data, labor market stats are a mess too, with survey response rates plummeting, and GDP figures are under scrutiny for seasonality distortions. The ONS says there's no evidence of this, but economists are skeptical, pointing to suspiciously strong Q1 2025 GDP numbers that mysteriously taper off later in the year. Sounds like someone's cooking the books to make the government look good, doesn't it? Now, let's zoom out to the Bank of England, BOE, which is supposed to be the adult in the room, keeping inflation in check and the economy humming. Spoiler alert, they're failing miserably. With inflation cooling to 3.3%, if you believe the ONS's numbers, which, LOL, the BOE is expected to keep interest rates at 4.25% on Thursday, June 19, 2025. Investors are betting on an 80% chance of a rate cut in August, but here's the problem. The BOE is paralyzed by uncertainty, thanks to the ONS's data disasters and a slew of global risks. What risks, you ask? Oh, just a little thing called Donald Trump's trade war, which is jacking up import costs and threatening global supply chains. Then there's the escalating tensions in the Middle East, which could trigger another energy shock, because apparently, we didn't learn anything from the 2022 energy crisis. And let's not forget the UK government's brilliant idea to hike taxes, which is squeezing businesses and consumers alike. The BOE's response? A gradual and careful approach to cutting rates, according to Sanjay Raja, chief UK economist at Deutsche Bank. Translation, they're too scared to do anything meaningful, so they'll just sit on their hands and hope the problem magically fixes itself. Meanwhile, inflation is still sticky, services inflation, which the BOE obsesses over, is being propped up by those dodgy airfare and concert ticket numbers. So, while headline inflation might look like it's cooling, the underlying pressures are still red hot. And now, the main event, the UK government, which has spent years mismanaging the economy into the ground. Let's connect the dots. The ONS's data disasters didn't happen in a vacuum, they're the result of chronic underfunding and mismanagement. A government probe into the ONS is underway, but don't hold your breath for real accountability. This is the same government that's been asleep at the wheel while energy prices soared, wages stagnated, and businesses fled the UK thanks to Brexit and tax hikes. Speaking of taxes, let's talk about the latest round of increases. In 2024, the government jacked up corporation tax to 25%, one of the highest rates in Europe, according to the Tax Foundation's 2024 International Tax Competitiveness Index. The result? Foreign direct investment, FDI, in the UK plummeted by 12% in 2024, per UNCTAD's World Investment Report 2025, as companies fled to more business-friendly climates like Ireland, where the corporate tax rate is a measly 12.5%. Meanwhile, households are getting crushed by higher VAT and income tax thresholds that haven't kept pace with inflation. And don't even get me started on energy policy. The Middle East tensions are a reminder of how vulnerable the UK is to energy shocks, yet the government has dragged its feet on green energy investment. In 2024, renewable energy accounted for just 43% of the UK's electricity mix, according to the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero, compared to 60% in Germany. Why? Because the government slashed subsidies for wind and solar projects, prioritizing short-term budget savings over long-term energy security. Brilliant. Here's where it all comes together, folks. The UK economy is a house of cards, and the government's mismanagement is the wind threatening to blow it all down. Let's look at the data. The UK economy grew by a measly 0.6% in Q1 2025, according to the ONS, if you trust their numbers, but economists are warning of a slowdown as tax hikes and global risks bite. The IMF's April 2025 World Economic Outlook downgraded the UK's 2025 growth forecast to 1.1%, the weakest among G7 countries. Officially, unemployment is at 4.2%, but the ONS's botched survey data means the real number could be much higher. The Resolution Foundation estimates that hidden unemployment, people who've given up looking for work, could push the true rate closer to 6%. The CBI's Industrial Trends Survey for May 2025 showed business confidence at its lowest level since the 2020 pandemic, with manufacturers citing higher taxes, energy costs, and global uncertainty as major headwinds. Put it all together, and what do you get? A recipe for recession. Inflation might be cooling on paper, but the underlying pressures are still there, fueled by government policies that choke growth and a BOE that's too timid to act. And when the next energy shock or trade war hits, don't expect the government to have a plan, they'll just blame the ONS, the BOE, or, heck, maybe even Taylor Swift. Alright, folks, here's the deal, the UK economy is a mess, and it's not because of some global headwinds or unforeseen challenges. It's because the people in charge, the government, the ONS, the BOE, have been asleep at the wheel, cooking the books, and passing the buck. We've got data you can't trust, policies that crush growth, and a central bank that's too scared to do its job. And who pays the price? You do, every time you go to the grocery store, fill up your tank, or check your shrinking paycheck. So, what's the fix? First, the government needs to get its act together, fund the ONS properly, stop hiking taxes like it's going out of style, and invest in energy security before the next crisis hits. Second, the BOE needs to grow a spine, stop hiding behind dodgy data and make the tough calls, even if it means ruffling some feathers. And third, we, the people, need to hold these clowns accountable. Because if we don't, we're headed straight for a recession, and trust me, it'll make 2008 look like a picnic. That's all for today, folks. If you're as fed up as I am, smash that like button, subscribe, and join the Boss Economics World Army. We're not just here to rant, we're here to fight for an economy that works for all of us. See you next time.